Hi everyone and welcome back to the Crafty Yellow Camper, and today I've got a quick video for you with the Window Wishes stamp set. I really like this one. I can see so many things to use this for, and obviously initially it's called Window Wishes. It has got a window die, but I think there's lots of other different cards that you could actually use this for. So anybody that knows me well knows that when I choose a stamp set, I like something that can be used in at least 5 different ways. And I can think of lots of different ways to use this. So you will be seeing other videos using this. So we've got this nice little wreath, this lovely sort of swag of foliage, candles, a little house, some double trees, a single tree, a leafless tree, a car, and it has got the stamp to do the wheels, some little snow, and these bits to make sort of scenes, I suppose. And then we've got From Our Hearts to Yours, peace, may happy moments and wonderful memories be yours this season, and then for lots of joy at Christmas. So some really nice sentiments there. That actually comes with this set of dies. These are the window dies. So you've got your window here. So this actually is in 2 separate pieces. So you've got this outside frame, if you like, and then this sort of infill piece here, which sort of sits inside. And then I'm guessing that this straight bit here is so that you can actually divide the window if you wanted to a bit further. You'll see a bit more when I start with the card. We've got this, which is the flames for the candles. In case anybody was wondering, it looks a little bit like a crown, but that actually cuts the flames for the candles. And then you've got a house, a roof. That's the die for the swag of foliage. That's the car wheels. Oh, sorry, I'm out of shot. That's the car wheels. This is the little car. That's the main part of the candles that those flames go with. And then you've got various other, there's a bow, there's the double trees and the single trees. So there's lots and lots of scope with that set. So I've gone ahead and done the die cutting for this card, so you don't have to put up with me running backwards and forwards to my die cutting and embossing machine. So my desk is a real mess, so please excuse that. So I'm going to bring in the bits and pieces that I've got here. So I've chosen to use an Orchid Oasis background because I wanted this to be a card that looked like it was looking from the inside out. So I've used this die to cut the main shape out. As you can see, that slots back in there. And what it will do, it also cuts, when it cuts it out, it cuts an arch piece and it cuts a frame piece. So I'm hanging on to those, and you'll be seeing those again in another card. Yeah, so that cuts that piece. So I've cut an aperture in the front of the card. I've just realised it's slightly off centre, but for the purposes of the video, imagine that it isn't. And then what I've done is I've used that outside frame again, and I've used the inner frame. So this one again is that die, and then this one is the inner die. And that's what I'm going to use to make my window. So I wanted to have sort of a double effect on this card. So I got to thinking about how I could do that. So what I've done is I've cut a piece of vellum, which is 10.5 long by 7.5 wide. And I've actually used, I'll show you the packaging rather than the embossing folder, but these are the Charming Landscape embossing folders, and they come as a pack of 2. They're narrow enough to fit through the small mini cut and emboss machine. Actually, you can see the pattern fairly well on there. So there's this one, which is sort of a mountain with a snow scene, and then there's this one, which gives you this sort of scenery, landscape scenery. So what I've done, I'm actually using both of those embossing folders in this one card. But what I've done to get us around the fact that we now have a hole in the front of our card, I've taken that piece of vellum and I've embossed it. And most of you know that when you emboss vellum, it turns the bits that are embossed white, so it shows up nicely. And that is going to be attached to the back of our card here. Now, it's what I've done is I'm a bit frugal, so if you're not good at lining things up, probably you're best to do it a little bit bigger, but I mean, I think that's plenty big enough. And what we're going to do is I'm going to use a fine tip glue pen for this. Now with vellum, you just need to be aware that any adhesive will show through the vellum, so you either need to be covering it up with an embellishment or putting it where it doesn't show, and I have probably gone too wide on that, but we'll run with that. Okay, so I'm making sure that I've got my embossed side facing down, because that's the side we want to see on the outside. And you might have noticed I've just run glue down the two sides there. Okay, and I've made a right mess of that because it's all squidged out, so really less is more. The fine tip glue pen should dry clear. Okay, so I'm flipping my card back round to the right side now, and I'm just going to hold that down for a few minutes just to get some pressure on that to help that glue stick. My glue of choice is most definitely Tombow, but I thought I'd get in even more of a mess. But actually, I think I probably would have been all right. But anyway, okay, so we're now working on the front. So our frame that we've cut needs to be slotted back in, and that's why we needed that piece of vellum, because that is going to slot back there, back in there in the holes. And you can see I've been really messy with the glue and it's come through, but that's fine because we're going to cover that up. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just put the tiniest touch of Tombow around the edges of this frame, and this will actually be then attached to the vellum, but we aren't going to see this glue apart from on the inside of the car. And if that really bugs you, you could always cut another frame to sit at the back. Okay, so we're going to slot that back in there like that, and that's going to get attached to the vellum. And then this one is going to go on top, and again I'm going to use Tombow. I seem to make less mess with it. So you only want, I think the problem with the fine glue pen sometimes is if it's a new one, which mine is, it comes out quite quick. Right, so we're just going along the edges here. Oh, goodness me. I'm just putting a few dots around the top and the corners. Okay, so we're going to insert that back in. So you'll notice that I've changed colour. So I've cut this window frame out of smoky slate. Now, if you wanted to, you could use this frame, but it's the same colour as the base card, so it doesn't really stand out. So I thought I would switch it, and I actually have metal windows in my house, which is hence the smoky slate. Okay, so we've now got our window back in. Do you know what? The fine tip glue pen is not doing a very good job of keeping this vellum down at all. Okay, we might have to go back over that with some Tombow. Let's just flatten that back out so we can carry on working on it for the purposes of the video. Okay, so what I've then done is I've gone ahead and stamped and then die cut that sprig, that sort of swag, I should say, of vellum, and that is going to go around the outside. But I want to raise that up a little bit, so I am going to use some mini dimensionals, if I can lay my hands on them on my desk. No, they're all big ones. Oh my goodness me, I've got stuff everywhere. That's the problem with me, is I start planning stuff and then, oh, there we go. And then it becomes a bit chaotic on my desk. Really need a bigger desk, but then I'd just mess it up even more. So the mini dimensionals are the perfect size for this kind of thing, and then they won't show. Okay, and we're just going to put, I don't believe in overloading stuff with dimensionals, but you do need enough to get it to stick. Okay, so we can do that. Now, if you have trouble getting the back ends off your dimensionals, just dig your thumbnail or your pokey tool into the middle of the dimensional, and then that will crease the backing, which makes it a little bit easier to get off. And of course mine are going to stick to my finger because I've got glue on it. Honestly, I really am the messiest crafter in the world. Okay, let's go around that. Okay, so that's then going to go over there. So you can see where the glue is squidged out there and there a little bit. If I hold it up, you can just see we've got a little bit of glue there and a little bit of glue there. That really does not want to stick that vellum. So this will cover it up quite nicely for us. Okay, so we're just going to stick that round. My top tip where this stamp set is concerned is, because this is photopolymer, they are great in that you can stretch them into different shapes. But my top tip for this one is when you get this off the acetate in the stamp set, lay it down on something face down and then put your block on top of it and then carefully peel off whatever you've laid it on, because otherwise it's really easy to distort the shape of these end bits here, and then obviously they won't die cut properly. Okay, so that's that. And then on the inside of our card, I've cut a piece of basic white, and this is cut at 10 by 14.3, and I've used the more sort of house embossing folder on that one. I'm actually going to stick that on the inside of the card. Now, those embossing folders, I'll show you again in a second, you might look at it and think, well, it's the wrong angle. How do you know, it'll only work for cards that go that way. But I'll show you in a second. Not doing a very good job at getting anything level today. Right, okay, so what I've done is I've stuck that in the inside, and because these embossing folders are that shape, if you use this line here to line it up, if you're cutting a piece of cardstock that is portrait and using a landscape folder, which is what this is, if you use that line there, providing that's the section you're happy to have, you can line up the edge of your cardstock to get it straight. Obviously, you just need to remember on this edge, if you go right to this edge, there will be a mark and a piece that isn't embossed. So depending on where you want your picture. And then obviously, because these are smaller, these will go sideways through the larger cut and emboss machine. The upside is as well, is that it then leaves us this panel here and a little space up here for you to write, for you to write on. So you can write your dear whoever there, and you've got your love from, whatever you want to put there. Okay, so I think it